Should we talk about this film, man?
Yeah, go for it.
This was my pick. I had a bit of a run. I think I had 3 films in a row or something, or maybe 2.
I think you had 3 out of 4.
Yeah, that's not bad. LA Confidential. I'll start. I saw this for the first time in university. Maybe Prague owned it, maybe they didn't. But I'm a big fan of this film, so it'll be interesting to know what everyone's thoughts are on it. I know that Adam said he had seen it once when he was younger, and he probably wasn't the biggest fan then. So good to know if that's changed.
I was too young. I would have been too young. I think I would have been about 14 or 15 or something, maybe a bit younger than that. And just like, let's be real. It's not quite an explosion-y action film, is it? Which you kind of tend to watch at that age,
Too young for LA Confidential, too old for RoboCop.
This would be classed as a pot boiler, wouldn't it? I think.
Should we describe like a girl you don't want to go with, isn't it? Like on a Saturday night. Oh, she's a bit of a pot boiler.
That's bunny boiler.
So yeah, I remember watching this film for the first time in university and thought I'm not going to like this, and came away and I really, really enjoyed it. I think the cast are amazing. I think that there's certain elements which we'll get into. I just think is really good. And without giving too much away for our final question, I really enjoyed watching it again this time round.
I thought you were going to say, without giving too much away for our final question, I would recommend it.
And on that note, podcasts come out every Wednesday. Yeah, thanks very much.
So, yeah, Ad, you watched it as a teenager. What memories have you got of it?
I can't really, to be honest, but like none, because I wouldn't be surprised actually if I just knocked it off. I got to be honest. I think I would have caught it on. I would have caught it on TV because I wouldn't have rented this one. I wouldn't have rented the film, I guess. I would have probably caught it on TV, or maybe I lent it off someone else, or I don't know how I would have watched it. But like, I just remember I was at that time when I was sort of getting into moving away. Well, not moving away from, but just branching off from like Friday the 13th and all my slasher horror films and stuff, and being a bit like, I got to watch some more serious films by it. And it would have been around the time I watched Goodfellas, because surprise, surprise, I wasn't a big fan of Goodfellas the first time I watched it either. I remember the first time I watched Goodfellas when I was like 14, I just didn't click. I just didn't click with me. It wasn't until I watched that years later when I enjoyed it. And so it would have been around that time, I know. And yeah, I think I couldn't remember anything about it. Like, to get into spoilers, I couldn't remember things like Kevin Spacey getting killed off and stuff like that. So it was all kind of it was kind of like watching it for the first time, to be honest. I just know that I chucked it on at one point and I just wasn't that fussed on it when I was younger. And that's my memory.
Ev, you don't have a memory of this, do you? First time watching it, am I right?
Yeah, first time watching it last week.
How did you miss this then in university? Was this something we would have watched after we lived with Ev, Prog?
Yeah, I think I bought the VHS of this the year after we lived with Ev.
After we kicked him out.
Yeah.
He snored too much. Kept us all up.
He did other things too much, didn't he?
Oh, shut up, man. Every time. No, anyway. Yeah, I watched this for the first time last week, and I think I've got to admit, I've known you a long time, and you went down in my estimations by picking the Golden Trials. You had to redeem yourself, and I think you've done that with this film.
I'm glad, mate.
Yeah,
I think we were all a little bit shocked by the Golden Trial, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. It's god awful. But I really like this film. It was right in my wheelhouse. That I quite like the film noirs, the 50s murder mystery type thing. And it's one thing I did notice that is that, going off a gaming reference, I'm taking your part here, that you can see whether if anyone's played the game LA Noir,
yeah,
I think it's borrowed heavily from this film, which is a good thing, because the films are good.
Can I just say no? Because the slew of films you just had recently, I'm not getting to watch many films at the moment. It's just the one a week we do for the podcast, really. I went away this weekend with my family, and the one night me and my family were just all. It was like the evening we were just watching a film, And I watched Blades of Glory with Will Ferrell, and I thought it was the greatest film I've ever seen because of how bad the films were we watched lately. I got to be honest, I was watching it going, this is a real film. This is phenomenal, this film. I loved it. I'd seen it before and I thought it was pretty good. But when I watched it the other night, after coming off The Golden Child, Mark and Me, good God, that film was like the biggest Oscar-winning film I've ever seen.
I like that film, Blades of Glory. I think it's really good.
It is hilarious. I've always thought it was funny, but I've never noticed the filmmaking on Blades of Glory more after watching The Golden Child.
And Prague, what about you, Ed?
So yeah, I watched this for the first time in university. This was a 3 for £20 purchase in HMV. This would have been on VHS, and I loved this film when I was younger. I'm quite glad I haven't watched it for quite a few years, so I'm quite glad now that I hadn't watched it. So when I watched it last night, I was enthralled again. I was remembering stuff as it was going along. I knew the big twists and the plot points, but there was details I was picking up on this time because I was more familiar with the film than other stuff that we've done recently.
I don't think I'd seen this in about 10, 15 years myself, and I may well keep it like that next time I watch it as well, just because I think you get such an enjoyment then of watching it when you haven't seen it for so long. It's it is such an enjoyable film. If we move on to favorite aspect, I may as well start, but I think the cast is amazing. Everything from Danny DeVito, who has a smaller part in this compared to like Kevin Spacey or Guy Pearce. Including then Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, Kevin Spacey. What's his name? The old guy in it.
James Cromwell.
Yeah, James Cromwell. Really, really good. So yeah, I'll throw that out. That for me, it's that. This is the cast. And there's a couple of points I'll come on to in a minute about the cast. And then also, like Ev's mentioned it already, how it's set or when it's set. I think it leads itself to such a great story. Anyone else got any favorite aspects?
I back you up on the cast, but I'm going to shout out the screenplay.
Who did the screenplay, bro? Do you know?
Brian Helgeland. He actually won quite a few awards for this, including the Oscars. But I think I'm not sure if a lot of people know, but this is based on a novel by James Ellroy, and I haven't read this particular novel by James Ellroy, but I've read a few of his books, and they are dense.
I was going to say this because I'm similar to you. I've not read this, but I know for a fact that so much happens in that book. And and they've had to obviously cut some things back.
Yeah, I mean, to actually get, I'm pretty sure most of his novels are 500 to 600 pages. And do you know when you buy a book sometimes and you open it up, and it's quite a thick book, but you open it up and like the words are quite big on the page.
Yeah,
and you think to yourself, "Oh, that's all right. I can get through that." But when you buy a thick novel and you open it up and it's like miniature writing, and you're like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, man!" It's like it almost feels like it's going to be double the length. Well, James Ellroy's novels are in that mold, I feel. And while they're entertaining, they can sometimes be difficult to read because of how they're written. They're very stop-start. There's hardly any punctuation apart from full stops. And more often than not, you will get a full stop after 4 words, like the very short, sharp sentences. But I went off on one there, sorry. What I'm getting around to is I think the screenwriter has done a really, really good job in condensing his James Ellroy's novel into 2 hours of screen time, and to actually make it really coherent, make the characters pop. Like, you take a look at Vincennes, Bud White, and Exley, the 3 lead detectives, 3 policemen. They all feel like different types of police officers. Like you never feel like their characteristics are overlapping. They all feel like unique within the story, and something like that in 2 hours, like in a novel, it's easier to do because you get more time to do it, more space. But I think in a film in 2 hours, like there's a lot of characters in this film as well, and everyone feels different. Now I know a lot of that can come through from the actors. Like you just put someone different in a role and they feel like a different character to if they'd had say Tom Hanks was playing someone and you put Russell Crowe in the role, then it's automatically going to feel like something different. But I do think the screenplay lends itself or adds to that feeling of everyone knew where they were going with that with the character they were playing.
But the book is set over like 7 years, whereas the film is set over like several months. So that there's a difference. But as you say, you can get so much more in the book.
I'm gonna highlight one thing now that it's the only sticking point I have with the entire film, and I don't think it's a massive issue, which is why I'm going to bring it up now rather than later. But I think it's an indication of how you can tell the novel would have been different. If you have a look at Guy Pearce's relationship with Kim Basinger, it's very sudden. Like he meets her, he sleeps with her, and then the next scene they're together, they're almost like, friends. And it's very, in terms of a film, it's quite a sharp change.
Yeah.
Whereas I, as I said, I haven't read the book, but I get the feeling that in the book, that relationship is probably over a longer stretch of time and it's more nuanced and so on. But I only brought it up now as like a highlight to show how difficult it can be sometimes in translating a novel to film.
Can I just say though, Brian Helgeland, however you say his name, what a run of screenplays this guy had throughout from 1988 up until 97. No, yeah, up until 97, right? So he started off with Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 for Dream Master. So that's where he would have. But it's actually a good journey. This thing. My film nerd brain kicked into gear when I was looking at this. But then I noticed straight after he wrote the Robert Englund directed film 976 Evil, which anyone ever seen that? About the evil killer phone line. Used to be on Sci-Fi Channel all the time. It's all right. Then he wrote 8 de Jong, the guy that did Drop Dead Fred's only ever film, Highway to Hell. Then Richard Donner's Assassins. Then this.
It's Sly.
And co-written with the Wachowski brothers, or the Wachowskis as they're now known as. Yeah. And then LA Confidential. Then he did Conspiracy Theory with our boy Mel, the first time he ever worked with Mel, and the second time he worked with Richard Donner. And then it all came downhill when he did The Postman straight afterwards.
Well, hang on a minute now. He's done some good films after that.
He bounces back with Payback after that.
Yeah. And he's done Mystic River, Man on Fire.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done some good films after.
I know, but I'm just saying that perfect run was just a bit thwarted by The Postman, wasn't it?
Oh, he's done one of your favourite films as well, Ad. He did Legend with Tom Hardy.
God, that film's awful. That film is absolutely...
I was going to ask you about that because I've just had a look at it as well. I've only ever seen it from clips on YouTube.
I went to the cinema to watch it and I thought it was okay.
All right.
But then Tom Hardy, so
I'm gonna blame The Postman on Kevin Costner though. Because he directed that film. So I'm blaming Kevin Costner for The Postman because he directed it.
I'll blame Kevin Costner for anything.
I've ever seen The Postman.
It's not the one that's like 4 hours long.
I've seen it. It's not that bad.
Pretty bad.
That was Waterworld, wasn't it?
Waterworld's not that bad. Waterworld's not as bad as people think. No, The Postman.
Tell you know, The Postman and Waterworld are not anywhere near as bad as people make them out to be.
It's because they flopped so much, isn't it? Money wise.
Okay, I'll give you Waterworld, but I'm not giving you the Postman. Awful.
It's not awful. It's not awful.
It is awful. It's bloody awful.
If I had Clinton in and it was set in the 1800s, you would have loved that film.
Yeah, but it didn't, did it? It had crappy Kevin Costner in it, and it was boring.
I know what I'm nominating for my 2 films later on now.
Well, The Postman twice.
The Postman, right?
Just
I
Kevin Costner films.
I saw that on ITV once, and I'm pretty sure it's a long film anyway, isn't it? And then
Yeah.
put ad breaks in it. It went on for bloody ages.
It's like watching Ben Hur on Easter Sunday, isn't it?
It's 3 hours long. I just had a look.
I could just remember it was on. I think it was on. Maybe I watched that same ITV version of it, but I can always remember I was sleeping over my nan and Bam's house, and that came on, and like I just remember watching it like on a Saturday night with my grandparents and just being like, "Good God, this is boring." I would have been about 12 or something, and just being like, just finding it really hard to get through. And but I didn't mind Waterworld when I was younger. I always thought Waterworld was not that bad because I remember everyone was always like, "This is the worst film ever made," and I was always like, "It's not that bad." It was like pretty good actually. But
I quite liked it in the sense of I compared elements of it to Mad Max. I know it's a post-apocalyptic sort of world, but yeah, I quite liked it.
If it was called Mad Max, the Postman, Adam would have loved it.
And starred Mel Gibson.
Hey, I'm not a big fan of Mad Max 3, so I'm not being a Mad Max film doesn't hold you up. There's only 2 Mad Max films I really like, and that's the first and second one.
It's my favourite in the trilogy.
Yeah,
just because it's got Tina in it.
Get ready for Adam's venting here.
God rest her soul.
Fury Road is my favourite Mad Max film.
Not a Mad Max film, but it's a good film. It's not a Mad Max film. I'm not talking about that. I like Fury. I like Fury Road. That's the only name it's called, but it's not a Mad Max film. Anyway, move on.
So while we're talking about Mad Max, let's talk about Mel. Mel was linked to this film. The studio wanted a big name to play Bud White, whereas the director wanted a lesser-known actor. And they wanted Mel Gibson, the studio. I'm
gonna say right now, the film would have been better if it was Mel Gibson over Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe's one of my.
This is the first time where I'm not picking Mel Gibson for this role.
I got to be honest, right? We'll get on to it, but Russell Crowe is one of my least favorite aspects of this film. So I'm going to say I'm going to come back to it in much more detail, but he did make me laugh quite a lot in this film. Quite a lot. I did pause the film at one point because I did start crying from laughter at one bit, and I'll come to that I'll come to that as we get to it. But and I usually love Russell Crowe. I think he's a really good actor, but I didn't think he was good in this. He was one of my least favorite aspects. But my favorite aspects of the film, I don't really know. I mean, you guys kind of hit upon it quite well there, but I guess the direction, the character work, it was all, it was really, it had some really good world building to it. I really liked it. I thought it had a really good scope to it. I thought it had like a really nice epic feel for like a 2.5 hour movie and stuff. 2 hours and 20 minutes. It was something like that.
I got one more good thing. I just forgot about it. I don't know why, but I think this is one of the best twists in a film.
Well, I kind of suspected James Cromwell was behind it quite thoroughly.
I'm talking about the scene where he kills Jack Vincennes.
Oh, yeah, I didn't expect that to happen.
When I first watched the film, I did not see that coming at all. And the way they set it up in this film is great, I think. Because he says, who are you working with this on? And he says, Exley. And he says, and what does he think about it? And Vincennes says, I haven't told him yet. And then bang, that's when the captain shoots him. I think that setup is great.
Ev, what did you think of that, considering this is the first time you've seen it?
What, just that thing or the film?
Did you expect it?
No, I didn't expect that, to be honest. I thought it was going to be David Strathairn or whatever, who plays Pierce Patchett. I thought he was just going to be the evil villain all along.
What's your favourite aspect then, Ev?
I've got a few. I
just left. He's had enough.
He's left now. He probably knows what I'm going to talk about.
No, sorry, I just run across the room.
He was practicing his running for a bus.
Yeah. That's my weekly exercise done.
Just going on what you said, Prog, about the cast. They all play the parts really well. Like, Russell Crowe is the sinister yet compassionate cop. Kevin Spacey with his arrogance, and Guy Pearce with his like blistering naivety, and also Kim Basinger with the quintessential femme fatale, if you will. But
She's a very attractive lady in this.
No. One of the worst looking people ever, man.
Right. Well, sorry, Ev, I'm going to interrupt you there just because we're talking about her. She
Okay.
wasn't the first person to be offered the role of Lynn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
And the first name that I've got on the list is a favourite of Prog's, and that's Lorraine. Is it Bracco? Is that from Goodfellas?
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Lorraine Bracco, Gina Davis, Melanie Griffiths, Terry Hatcher, Angelica Hudson,
It's done.
Jennifer Jason Leigh, Michelle Pfeiffer, Meg Ryan, and Renee Russo.
Michelle Pfeiffer would have been good, but I'm glad they went with Kim Basinger.
Yeah,
Kim
Gina
Basinger.
Davis probably would have been good as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think. But no, sorry, Ad, but I think Russell Crowe is an absolute beast in this film. He's immense. And I think he reminds me a lot of Michael Keaton in like with his mad eyes, and like for a fact that he could just flip at every available opportunity.
I love how he broods in the film.
Yeah, yeah.
And you do get the sense that like he's on the edge, like something will just set him off, and he'll just go. And in fairness, I think the director does really well to capture his physicality. There's one scene where he rescues the girl who's been raped, and they put her in the back of the ambulance. And Guy Pearce wants to ask her questions, and Russell Crowe and him have a go at each other, and Guy Pearce sets him off. And there's like 5 guys trying to hold him back. But I like the visual imagery there, because you do get the sense of how sort of like ferocious he is if he pops.
Yeah, because it's not.
Guy Pearce has got a brilliant line there as well, where James Cromwell goes, you shouldn't push a man when his blood's up, and Guy Pearce goes, his blood's always up.
Yeah. But with that scene, it's not a case of like, movie style in terms of hold us back, and it's like half-hearted. Like you can tell he probably wants to rip his head off. Like,
well, they knew each other from Neighbours, didn't they?
Was Russell Crowe in Neighbours?
Yeah, they were in Neighbours the same time. Russell Crowe wasn't in it a lot. I think he was in like a couple of episodes, but he knew Guy Pearce. His scenes were, I think, with Guy Pearce, and I think they knew each other from there.
And also Nick Lassard, Commandant Lassard's nephew, is one of the movie stars. Great cameo.
Come on, Ev, go through the list.
Oh, all right. No, I've only got one more. No, actually 2. Sorry, I tell a lie. The mayor is the chief in The Negotiator.
He is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should do it. I haven't seen that in years, and I remember really liking that.
Yeah, I like that film.
Kevin Spacey one as well.
Oh, Kevin Spacey, God rest his soul. I know he's not dead, but he's dead to the acting world.
What does everyone get up and leave in the podcast tonight, by the way?
Sorry, I had to go because I got the kids tonight, Rachel's and you, and I thought that they cried out, but they didn't.
And I just realised I hadn't plugged my computer in from earlier. So
it's just me talking, Ad. As soon as I talk, everyone just runs off. Yeah. Fuck off.
Well, in fairness, I thought Evan was going to take 5 minutes to go through his list of actors. So
no, I've only got one more. Simon Baker, the poster boy who gets paid to have a gay romp with the mayor. Yeah, he's in The Devil Wears Prada and Margin Call.
That's a film. Margin Call. Yeah. I love that film.
I recognised him, but I couldn't place him.
What was the show he was in? Simon Baker.
He wasn't in Beverly Hills.
The Mentalist.
Mentalist, of course, yeah.
And Ad, you may have heard of this. Like I don't know whether the band got their name from this, but Rollo Tomasi, that name's mentioned by Guy Pearce. They were am I right in saying like a sort of heavy indie band in the late 90s, early 2000s?
They're like a post-hardcore band sort of thing. Yeah. I know. I when I watched the film and he said their name, I was like, oh, that's where that band nicked it from. I said that straight away. I was like, I heard that immediately. Yeah, but Maybe we should have one of their songs to be the theme song for this episode, just to
nice little segue.
No, I didn't know it's
Shall we move on to favourite scene? What's people got?
The interrogation scene. Sorry, was it with Guy Pearce? I love that scene. The way he's going between suspects.
Yeah, I like that scene as well.
I did, obviously the bit where Kevin Spacey gets iced is quite a good scene, but not so much favorite scene, but favorite. I think Kevin Spacey's the best actor in this film. I know he's a complete nonce now, and he's.
Yeah, but we're not allowed to say that though.
What do you mean?
We're not allowed to talk about him, are we? Don't utter his name. Just say the guy who played Vincennes.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait,
Hollywood
Jack.
Jack.
Am I right in saying that to date he has not been convicted of anything?
I don't know.
I think he's pretty much been like certified nonce now.
He's been convicted in the court of public opinion.
But also also the N word that you used there. I'm pretty sure that's not correct, isn't it?
No, it is. Like he's linked to some under. Is that
all right? Okay, that's fair enough.
Is that one actor when he was 14? When I forgot his name.
Let's just get it out.
Okay.
Let's just get it out there. He is the best actor in this film.
Yeah,
and he's the best actor in most films that he's in.
Well, the bit I was going to say was I liked a lot was when I've got Guy Pearce's character in it now, and he's all like
Actually,
he's telling him why he became a cop, and he says, "What made you want to become a cop?" And he's like, "I don't remember." I thought that was a good scene. I thought that was quite a good. Also, he's just really good in this film. I thought his character was brilliant, fudging brilliant. Sorry, he was really cool. Other favorite scenes. I love the bit where Guy Pearce happens upon the when he goes to the Night Owl Club for the first time, and like it's quite a good tense scene because you're like, is anyone else in there at all? Like, because I hadn't seen it before. I'm just going to call this. I'd never really seen it before because I didn't know what was going to happen. So when he found that stack of bodies in the toilets and stuff, it had a good little horror vibe to it. That scene did. I thought that was a really cool moment in the film. But aside from that though, I'm with you guys to rifle proof on some.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that coming either because I thought it was just the other coppers playing tricks on him, like going to the night owls, investigating a murder or something like that, because he's like quite keen and takes the case. I thought they'd just like string him up or give him wedgies or something, but didn't see the pile of bodies coming like.
Oh, and when they find Buzz's body in the crawl space of the house, that was a good scene. That mother's mental as well, and she's all like, "He's a rat under the floorboards," and she's just going absolutely doolally like.
Can I ask a question? This is one of my changes. It's one of my questions. Let's put it that way.
Go on.
Why is the body under her house?
I think they killed him there or something. I guess
they did. They killed him there and they stowed him under the house. Because the thing is, I think the thinking is that because the mother is the way she is that they could just put the body under the house and she wouldn't think to look or.
Only for that very reason that it'll stink, wouldn't it? And I thought they would have killed him and then buried his body somewhere. So,
you got to think as well, all right. It's the 50s. It's Los Angeles, right? That's a hot place in the summer. Animals are dying wherever, so I would imagine there's, smells going everywhere around that place.
A lot of murder in LA
at that time, anyway. So she says she thought it was a rat or a possum or something. So that gave me the impression that number one, either she's a bit tough, and that's why they thought they could get away with stowing the body there. Or number two, she's used to those type of things happening in terms of animals dying and people just leave them around. They don't go and get rid of them. So I get why you'd ask though. It's,
my favorite scene, or one of my favorite scenes, is the bloody Christmas scene. Where all the Mexicans get beaten up. I sort of see that.
Is that why it's your favorite scene?
Yeah. Bloody Mexicans, I hate them. No, it's I just
hope no one edits that soundbite now. just have that on it, like.
And to be fair, right? I don't think I know a single Mexican. I don't think anyone on this podcast knows a Mexican. Prove me wrong.
I've never met him. No, never met.
I can't even name a famous Mexican.
I used to work at one.
Oh, I can.
Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo. No. His name was Jose, and he was he played. He was an old guy, a really nice guy, but he imagine like he was like that. He was thinner than you, Prog. He was like beady, and he said, "Oh, I used to play American football when I was younger. Like this is to a relatively high standard in Mexico." I was just like, "Well,
yeah, wait a minute now. American football in Mexico, high standard. It's like saying, I played, I don't know, something in this country that we're not very good at. So going back, the Bloody Sunday, the Bloody Christmas scene I quite liked. And I think part of the reason I liked it was the build-up. That you hear about the police officers who were beaten up by the Mexicans. They had some bruises and a black eye. And then the time it got to the party, then one of them was in the hospital, like fighting for his life or something like that. And he lost an eye, didn't he, at that point as well? Whereas he just had some bruising previously. So I thought that was really good. So I looked that up, and that scene is actually based on a true event that happened. Some Mexicans were in some part of LA, obviously, and they were drinking and wouldn't move on or something along those lines. And the police ended up like taking them home, but beating them to an inch of their lives. And something like 93 or 96 officers were either suspended or transferred after that event. And that's known as a Bloody Christmas, not massacre, but you know what I mean, event. Yeah. The other one I've got then is I quite like the scene where Exley goes and shoots the supposed night owl murderers, and then he places the gun in the guy's hand.
He finds him at the drug den, doesn't he?
Yeah. And then he obviously learns about the girl, and then goes to kill the other. So there's my two favorite scenes.
I tell you, just another bit, but just sprung to my mind quickly as well. Is I loved when even though I love Danny DeVito, I did love it when James Cromwell kills Danny DeVito and just says hush hush to him. I thought that was spiteful. That bit was so nasty. But so that bit, I loved the bit when Danny DeVito after what's his chops runs off Bud White. Danny DeVito was just like, Christ alive, guys, you don't have to hit me that hard, like. And then he says it exactly like that as well.
I love Danny DeVito in this film.
Oh, he's such a sleazebag in it, and he's great. Like,
I think Danny DeVito plays that type of character so well.
But it just reminds for me, he's always frank in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So this could have just been an episode of Philly with him being that sort of guy.
So no, for me, he's Vincent from Twins. Everything I see Danny DeVito in, and he's like Vincent in this, but dialed up a bit. But I think it's brilliant.
He's Frank Reynolds forever, man. That's who Danny DeVito is. He's
Vincent from Twins.
Frank Reynolds, man. He's the OG.
What do you see him as, Ev?
The Penguin.
The Penguin. I thought you might have gone a bit.
He'll always be Vincent Benedict for me.
You mess with me, you mess with my whole family.
I thought everyone was going to say Renaissance Man and be really indie.
Oh, what a film!
Oh God!
But I got to remember another shout out to Russell Crowe. There's a little scene where he's talking to Kim Basinger, and he's trying. Obviously, he fancies out of her, but he's trying not to show it. And there's a line where he says, "Oh, you're better than Veronica Lake," but it's the look that he has, and it's like his facial expression is like, "Oh, I got to hold myself back here," and I just love that, just that facial expression, holding himself back.
I love the saying, "the shit out of." Like you just used it there. It's such a universal saying. Yeah. I beat the shit out of him. Oh, I out of her. It's brilliant.
It's the universal gauge of measurement, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. The other one is 10 bears. Oh, he's hard as 10 bears.
Yeah. Rough.
That's a great line, that is. It is quite a rare genre in it, LA noir. It's like that sort of like the modern film noir sort of genre. Do you know what I mean? Did you ever? You guys never did film studies or anything in college, did you? Or
Yeah, I did. I did media studies. Yeah.
Oh, did you ever like? Because I remember when I did film media studies back in college, we did like a film studies sort of module, and I always remember we had to study film noirs. We had to look at the old Mike Hammer style film noirs of like the 40s and 50s, and then we had to watch a couple of like modern ones, but we didn't watch LA Confidential. We watched Hotspot, Kill Me Again, and what else did we watch? And Usual Suspects fell into that category as well. So
Angel with Filthy Souls. Did you do that film?
That's a fake film, Andrew.
I gotta say, I only ever watched Hotspot once, and I did like it when I watched it, but that was years ago.
It is an awesome film.
And favorite of the podcast, Jennifer Connelly's in it.
I know, yeah.
Oh, no wonder why it's your favorite. Why you liked it.
I think another reason why it was quite popular, that course at the time, is because Sin City had just come out, and that was quite a big film at the time. And so I think it was a case where like they were trying to like mold. They were trying to get a sort of classic films by using a brand new film as a sort of like, you get into it and stuff. But
can I ask you a question? Sorry, Ev.
No, go on.
Do you know, what did they tell you neo-noir or noir films were? Because I've always understood it as just the look of the film.
So, bear in mind, this is like, I was 16, so this is like, we're looking at 19 years ago, 18 years ago, this was now. But it was like, which is quite scary to think about, actually. It was like, I think the term film noir it comes from France. It's a type of, it means black cinema or black crime films and stuff. Obviously, noir's black, but basically it just meant like fringe crime films, which were kind of about like the sort of like, the outskirts of society. It was always about like more hardened cops, but kind of didn't play by the rules and stuff. And like,
I view it like French Connection is included in the list, isn't it? And films like that.
But it was just things like, very morally ambiguous. Like, for example, the Mike Hammer ones we'd watch, he would like just knock people out to like get the answers he needed and stuff. He didn't have a real clear black and white moral compass like you get in a traditional crime film at a time. And I think that's sort of it, really. And obviously the style, like Sunset Boulevard and the Maltese Falcon and stuff, they always have that sort of like, there's always a narrator in them. They're usually in black and white. They were back in the day because they had to be. And yeah, it's just, that's sort of how it is, really.
As we do more and more films in this podcast, I think I'm growing to sort of appreciate a narrator in a movie. I do like Danny DeVito in this. Not all. He's got to be done right. But another like aspect I liked is Danny DeVito doing his little narration.
But I think this film gets away with the narration because you can excuse Danny DeVito as basically just reading out his columns.
Yeah. I quite like a narration aspect.
Yeah, I was going to say, going back to your media studies, Ad. We studied Who Framed Roger Rabbit as a sort of film noir, because it was always I think the way I understood it, it was like that sort of darkish type of film, but it essentially had an almost anti-hero, the love interest who he should be with, but then a femme fatale who he wants to go with but shouldn't, like the bad girl and the good girl. Yeah. So it's like you got that in Blade Runner to a certain extent.
Yeah, that is a neo-noir. I think that's where the term neo comes from, because of the neon sort of lighting and stuff. And I might be wrong about that, but I swear that when I was in media studies, our teachers saying something about that to us, like that Blade Runner was like the sort of like sci-fi with first like genre melding film noir or something along those lines.
I was just thinking, could you class Dick Tracy as a film noir? Because you got
Madonna as a film fatale. I would. Like again, the era I think helps, doesn't it?
The big one, the one I always liked a lot, was Chinatown. That's a big one.
Oh no,
that's sort of like a neo noir. with Jack Nicholson. There's a brilliant
See,
movie.
I'm not entirely sure I've seen that. I've definitely seen clips of it. You know the bit where he cuts his ear, doesn't he?
No, his nose.
Oh no, his nose is. That's quite a famous scene. Yeah.
So I learned to write scripts. That was Chinatown. I always remember that because I read the script before I watched the film because I was trying to figure out how to write scripts when I was a teenager, and I lent it from my local library because it had this film books, the film book section, and they had the script for Chinatown, and I took it home. I remember I figured out how to like break a script down, like stage direction, characters, and all that sort of stuff. And then I watched the film about after reading the script, which is really weird. The only time I've ever done that was with Chinatown. It's quite a weird one.
Come on, let's talk about changes then. I do really like this film. There's not much personally I would change about it. I think if you wanted to maybe widen it out to a wider audience and more people to like it, maybe you should shorten it. And there's probably one or two aspects of the story that you could. Personally, I wouldn't. I thought 2 hours and 20 flew by when I watched it the other night. I did want to ask Ev, how many sit-ins?
One.
Well done, mate. That's I'm proud of you.
No, it was
100.
Yeah.
It was 5-minute intervals.
And then I had a couple of questions around the Buzz scenario. You know, why is he under the house? And we discussed that. I did have a question around why Kim Basinger sleeps with Guy Pearce's character, Exley. I think that is, it's sort of hinted at later in the film that's at the instruction of wherever the guy is. What's his name? Yeah, Peter Paget.
Danny DeVito's he's behind the window taking photos.
Yeah. So, so it's obviously all staged and things. And that's about it. The end shootout scene, the guys tend to have like an endless supply of bullets, but apart from that, there's not much I would change about this movie.
Going back to what you said about the Paget stuff, though, right? I did find that it's a bit of a duo thing here because I found it a bit really random when Guy Pearce's character kind of just started necking Kim Basinger. So obviously I know that she's meant to be like this attractive woman and stuff in it, but I was a bit like, no, I just didn't buy his character doing it. I was a bit like, why? Because he's such a man of code and honor. Maybe in the book it's a bit more built up and he meets her a lot more times and it's kind of, but it did just kind of come up. But it's a necessary evil because what comes afterwards is kind of good section of the film when you have that sort of thing where like, it's a nice, what comes afterwards is a nice payoff afterwards when you've got Bud going after him. James Cromwell's characters kind of hatches that plan. It's quite clever, that bit is. But sorry, Ev, what was you going to say?
No, I was going to say that I think they just about get away with Guy Pearce and Kim Basinger doing what they do. Obviously, Kim Basinger's character is being paid to do it, but they have a lot. Kim Basinger says to Guy Pearce, in effect, banging me is not going to be like, getting one over on Bud White. So I think in that sentence, it's alluded that Guy Pearce is doing it to get one over on Bud White because they don't like each other at that point, do they?
Yeah.
See, that was
I think that's why he's doing it, but also because she's very attractive.
But that was one of my changes. Like, why does Bud go so easily back to working with Exley after he sleeps with the love of his life? Surely, I think, yeah. I mean, like, obviously, he's raging at him in the office for, I don't know, what seems like 5 minutes, but then after that, he's working with him, like happy as Larry. It's like
because he knows it's a setup.
Yeah, I read it as that as well. I get what you mean, Nev. Like, you'd be fuming, but then I did read it as he sort of comes to terms with the fact that they've all been set up.
Well, the thing is, right, in terms of Bud White's character, what can he do, right? He wants to solve the case, and he needs Exley's help to solve it. So he's kind of got to partner up with him. He's in love with a prostitute. She gets paid to sleep with people. So she can't really, I know he is upset with her and he takes her out on her, but in the long run, you can't be upset with her because that's what she does for a living.
But I think in this instance, though, she sleeps with him, doesn't he? And not as a prostitute.
No, she paid to sleep with Exley.
She's paid by Pageant or whatever his name is, but not by Exley.
No. But Bud White will realise that she was paid by Patchett to sleep with Exley. That's her job.
Then that doesn't make sense because Ben Hexley's like, why did I just have a free bang for?
Because he doesn't care at that point, does he? He just wants to get one over on Bud White because they don't like each other.
They should have had a shot when you put a fiver on the table.
I tell you the main sticking point for me in all this. I get where you're all coming from. The main sticking point for me is the end of the film where they shake hands.
Yeah.
If I was Russell Crowe, I would have told him to do one. I would have said, "Look, we solved the case. It's over now. I don't want to see you again for the rest of my life."
Which brings me on to my change. Russell Crowe in this film. I'm just going to say, I've got to get this out of my system right. I did think he was the worst actor in this film. I did not like his performance in this film. I kind of went along with it because I was enjoying the film and stuff, and I was a bit like, okay, we just need. But I found him really hammy in this, and I found him really overacting. I thought everyone else would be on the same page as me on this, but I'm obviously alone here. But and I also didn't like Kim Basinger's performance in this either. I thought she was really over the top. So I did find myself mentally sort of drifting off whenever those two were on screen together. Sometimes they were on. So if I would, you can't take the scenes out because you need them in there for the movie. So when you started saying earlier about different actors playing them, I was a bit like, yeah, I would have. If I could wind the clocks back to 96 or 97 when this film was made and make the movie myself, I probably would have got Mel Gibson to play Bud White, and I would have got someone else to play Kim Basinger, because I haven't seen many films with Kim Basinger in, but I didn't like her in this at all. She's like, I just didn't think, I thought she was really over egging it.
But I thought there was times where they were a little bit wooden, both of them. But Bud White's character does need to be that sort of like emotionally repressed type of character. So I sort of get that element. I sort of get, again, what you're saying with Kim Basinger and the thing
is, I
don't get this at all. Sorry, I'll let you go again. But I gotta say, with Bud White, with Russell Crowe, I the exact opposite of hammy.
Yeah,
I thought he was underplaying the part as he was supposed to.
No, I don't think that at all. I thought he was like, because I thought the film had some decent character work going on, except for with Bud White, because I thought he was so. His whole thing was just like, I did laugh at this scene. I really did laugh my head off at this bit when he was in bed with Kim Basinger, and they're just having like puppy talk, and then literally, I forgot what the exact line is, but she's all like, "Oh, I think you're a good guy," and stuff. He's like, "Yeah, my father handcuffed my mother to a radiator once and beat into it." I was a bit like, no, he doesn't say that suddenly. I was a bit like, "Fuck me." Could have segued into that dialogue a bit better, but it was just so like, it was so like cheesy and Hollyoaksy. I was like, what the hell is this scene by her?
It did segue into it.
It didn't. It was really fast.
They were talking about how they met, and Kim Basinger said, "You don't like women being beaten," or alluded to the fact that he doesn't like people who beat women. That was the point of his character, because then when it comes to the end and he beats her up.
I know, but it was such a bucket of. But the other thing as well, it was so clear as day that was going to be the thing, because it was like, oh yeah, he doesn't like women. It was just a really black and white sort of like going against the film noir thing when he was a bit like, I just found that really corny and cheesy, and I thought he was just ridiculously over the top in it. I was a bit like, look, he was pretty much like Popeye in that film. He was pretty much Popeye.
All I would say is, right, in terms of what you need as a watcher of the film, you didn't need to see Bud White giving an explanation as to why he is the way he is with men who hit women. But in terms of the characters and their relationship in the film, it makes sense because she wants to know why he's the way he is.
It's just a bit like,
you may not like it, and that's fine. That's a personal preference, but it makes sense to their characters why she would ask the question.
we should get that. I'm not going to put it on right now, that scene, but we should break that scene down because it comes so fast. That bit does. It is literally like they're having a bit of cutesy wootsy pillow talk, and then it's like a bucket of shit all over it. Just like it is so intense what he's saying. I was a bit like, I wasn't laughing at like the situation. I was just laughing about overacting and stuff. I was like, this is so dramatic. I was like, what the hell is this by you? And like, but I was like,
were you on your phone at the same time?
Hmm?
Were you on your phone at the same time?
No. I was watching the film.
I swear to God, you've missed lines of dialogue here.
No. I'm obviously like I can't remember it verbatim, but I just remember like how I felt at the time. I was just like rolling my eyes at it, and also the end bit where like, what does she say? What's that last line? Like, what's called? You've got a medal. He's got, like hooker and like a trip to Arizona. I thought that was cheesy as well. I was a bit like, oh, what a crap line to end the film on. I was like,
I'm not a massive fan of how the film ends, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Can I something's just come to me, right? And I suppose we talk about interchanges. The film is quite dark. It's a film noir style movie, right? And then do you know when Bud then gets with Lynn and the very scene that Adam's talking about, it sort of switches and it becomes really light. The way that it looks all of a sudden. And it's the sort of like scene that I imagine there's drapes flowing in the wind behind sort of thing. It becomes really light. And it just, the look of the film changes very quickly. And it's only just come to me that happens. And I'm not entirely sure, if it needs to change as dramatically as that. And maybe in my head, I'm not remembering that, even though I only watched it 48 hours ago.
No, you might be. I don't remember that happening, but it might have happened.
It just reminded me. In Naked Gun, do you know when Frank Drebin then first meets? He doesn't first meet. He first goes on a date with Priscilla Presley's character. I can't remember. Yeah. And it just changes, and it's woke up this morning and feeling fine. In my head, that's how that scene now plays out.
No, it's like
along the beach.
I think it's a bit like the scene I'm on about though. It was a bit like it was an EastEnders kind of scene where like you'd have like Kat Slater and like someone else, Stacey or something, in a pub talking, or Roxy or something talking for 2 minutes, and we're just like talking about something that's like quite vague, and then all of a sudden Kat's just like, oh yeah, and then this horrible thing happened to me when I was younger. I was a bit like, whoa, because like I know that it needs to happen for the film, but that's not how humans talk to each other. That's not really how people, like that sort of like big admission of this horrible thing. It's a bit more drawn out rather than just like boom.
Have you seen a film before?
Well, yeah. But like I don't like stuff like that in film. I don't like it in EastEnders either. I don't like when EastEnders does that stuff. And it's like, and there's a lot, and that's why I have a problem with a lot of dramas and stuff. And that was it did that thing to me.
I wonder whether you because you didn't like Russell Crowe in the role, that's maybe why the scene isn't sitting with you at all. Like,
no, it didn't sit at all. I thought it was awful. But like, I usually really like Russell Crowe. I think he's a really good actor. But I just thought he was really miscast in this. And I think that like someone else, like Gibson, would have done a much better job.
I got to be honest, right? I know it's fine to say that you think Gibson would have been better. I don't think Gibson would have had anywhere near the physicality that Russell Crowe's got in this part.
I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot. You can draw a lot of similarities between him and Riggs, as in that sort of like, two cops that are just completely like on edge all the time, kind of like have a traumatic event.
I can't see 5 police officers holding Mel Gibson back.
No, that's impossible. I know, but because Mel is like a tyrant. I know, but not even Mel Gibson. But they could have just got someone else better to play. Like, imagine Clive Owen or something as like Bud White or something instead. That would have been a better role, because I think Clive Owen would have underplayed it a bit more. And I think he was just too Popeye. He was Popeye in this film. He was just Popeye. He was Popeye the Sailor Man.
But you're gonna have to explain. I don't even understand that reference. Why are you saying he's Popeye?
He was always walking around like this, going like always. Like, I know his character's always pissed off, but I just found it really stupid. I can't like put it to it. But I just thought whenever he was on screen, I was like, oh, here we go. Here comes Russell Crowe smashing through the scene by her.
But that's the point of his character.
No, but it was so overplayed. It was like Popeye. That's my point. You either like a performance, you don't like. That's what I thought of it. I thought it was.
I liked Popeye when I was a kid.
Yeah, Popeye's class, but not in LA Confidential. Know your place.
I got two more changes. I've got to quickly go through. I thought it was very harsh them beating up Danny DeVito. Like, I just felt so sorry for that. I thought look at his little face. How can you?
I feel sorry for him. He's horrible in this film.
I know, but he's like, you beat up Danny DeVito, do you?
He's a scumbag in this film.
But the when you mentioned
can I ask a potential offensive question?
Always.
Here we go. Is Danny DeVito a little person?
No, he's not. Don't even finish that question.
He kind of did though.
I know he's like quite short, but I just wasn't entirely sure if No. So is someone Googling it now?
No, I know he's not.
I got to say as well quickly before we move on. The end of the film, I almost raged at the end of the film because I thought Guy Pearce surely hasn't got with Kim Basinger and left Russell Crowe on his own. It was on a knife edge. I wasn't going to recommend it just because of that end scene. I thought if Guy Pearce has nicked Kim Basinger off Russell Crowe, I'm going to.
But did you think Russell Crowe's character had died?
No.
Oh, didn't you? I always did.
No.
Because
I think the camera work, they make it obvious that it's gone through his cheek.
Yeah, but he's been shot like he shot about 4 times.
It's Russell Crowe, isn't it?
But like
Elysium playing in the background.
Yeah.
All the bullets bounced off his spinach tins, but he was fine.
I'm just glad. I'm glad he ended up with a girl because I would have been going mental over that. But anyway,
right, come on then. Would you recommend Ev as a newbie to this film? I should say.
Yeah, I would.
Ad?
Yeah, I'd recommend it. I did have some reservations, but I still enjoyed the movie.
Brog?
Yes, I would recommend it, yeah.
I would highly recommend it. But you also have to ensure that you have the time to invest in the film. It's 2 hours 20. I don't think you can have it on in the background or go off and do other things. You need to invest in the film.
I don't think 2 hours 20 is that big of a deal for a movie. I think that's okay.
Not these days when you see what Disney and Marvel are putting out.
No, but like the thing is, right, big crime films like Pulp Fiction's about that long as well. I mean, like crime movies, I think crime films like this, they do quite work when they're like about like 2.5 hours long, if they're done right and they're not boring. Like it's when a comedy film is 2 hours long or an action movie is like 2.5 hours long. That's when certain genres work well with the long time. If you know, with the long running time, and
imagine Mac and Me was 2.5 hours long.
Exactly. See, that doesn't work. Well, actually, that would work. But like a crime epic. I'm going to call this a crime epic because it kind of is. I think the 2.5 hour. It never felt too long for me. I was never like take the scene out of the film, even though I didn't like Kim Basinger and Russell Crowe's in it that much. I was never like get the scene out of the movie because everything kind of served a purpose. If you know what I mean.
What was your mark, Ad?
I'd give this a 7 out of 10.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Quite good.
It could have been an 8 out of 10 if it wasn't for Russell Crowe and Kim Basinger, but it did bring it down a bit. And again, the ending.
Hang on now, right? So you're saying if you'd replaced those two actors with people that you would have preferred, you would have only given it an extra mark?
Yeah, given it 8 out of 10. The ending left a little sour.
No point to replacing them, then.
Yeah, it is because, a point like that around that area at one point means a lot, and like and also it's just a bit like it could have just been the ending could have been figured out a bit better. I thought the ending was a bit too rushed. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like I thought the bit when Kim Basinger comes in and they're holding hands leaving out there was a bit like it felt a bit like it wasn't quite earned. That scene wasn't, so I was a bit like kind of ended a bit flatly. But hey ho. So
the one thing that I normally do is budget at this point, and I have got a bit of a fact about the budget as well. So the budget was only 35 million, which I say only, it's still quite a lot of money. But because it isn't deemed not to be a huge amount of money for the type of film that it was, that they didn't build any sets or any exterior sets anyway. So they went around Los Angeles looking for old buildings that are either run down or were still of the style. So that's how they saved a bit of money. So yeah, budget of 35 million. They returned 126 million. So 90 odd million, not bad there.
It's pretty good.
On that note, then, do we want to do next week's film? Let me get my notes up.
Right then. So is that time of the week, is it, guys? Where we do the film we watch next week wheel, I guess. Is that what it's called? What are we calling this part of the game? The film picker round, or
We need an intro music to it, though.
yeah, we do need to get some. We should. I will get a jingle next time.
Let's ask ask the audience. Let's ask the viewers. Someone come up with a name for this. So yeah, there we go.
One of them's bound to say get on with it and pick a film round.
A fudging film round.
I know it's got to be done because it's part of it's, they do it on tally in the chase and all that. But quickly explain the game. We get two random films from our audience. We got The Page Master and True Romance at the moment. Then we get one booby film, which at the moment is Combat Academy, and then we each pick 2 films each to go in there. And yeah, that's how it goes. So let's get the wheel up. Can everyone see that yet?
Yeah.
Cool. So I got 3 in there already. So
The Page Master and True Romance were from obviously viewers, weren't they?
Aaron, and it was who was the guy who picked True
Aaron
Romance?
Leach.
Leach.
Someone else has definitely picked a film. I just can't find it, and I can't be asked to go back through the comments. So
Aaron is the we can only have 2 films at a time from the viewers anyway. So once True Romance or Page Master's picked, we'll just change it to whatever else has been suggested. It's really go about it, I reckon. Except there's too many films in there. Go on, let's go for everyone. Evan, what's your 2 films, bud?
I'm sorry, Prog. I've got to. Oh, I'm on mute. No,
you're not.
No, we can hear you. He's put himself on mute now.
Ev, you were on.
Evan, you on a stroke? What's going on, bud?
Oh, I don't know. I thought I was on mute because the cursor was on me picture because it said mute on the top. I just thought, fuck. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now?
I can't believe we heard Evan rage. Then you're like, I'm on mute.
Fucking headphone. Right. I'm gonna park the paper for a week. Sorry, Prog. I'm gonna park the paper. I'm gonna go Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go with a film called Sneakers.
Oh.
I
always liked that film.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen Sneakers before, or
Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd one.
We'll find out what it's all about. Andrew, it's going to be one of your films again because it's been your films for the last 7 weeks now. But go on.
Rigged. It's rigged.
So I've got a bit of a list. I'm trying to pick 2. Right. So Young Frankenstein.
That's what we're watching next week. No point in spinning the wheel.
Predator 2.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Froggle.
Blue Velvet.
Oh.
Is that the Dirty Marlon Brando one?
No, it's David Lynch. No, you're on about Last Tango in Paris, you dirty, smutty git.
It's actually a really good film. It's just really like minging and not minging, but just like seedy.
Right. So I got a choice of 2 here. So I'm going to ask you boys to.
Can I just step in as the you cannot do that. You have to pick. You have to make the choice yourself.
I have to make the choice. Okay.
Yeah. No, what we have to do is create another wheel to pick it.
Yeah, the frog wheel.
You like cogs, the wheels go into one.
All right, I'm just going to go Copland.
Yes.
Oh, what a shout.
I got Copland in my list.
I'm going to go for Chinatown. And I'm also going to go for, I'm doing the same thing as Progress. I got 2 films in my mind. I'm going to put Dread down again. It was between that and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
go.
say there's only one or two in that list that I wouldn't want to watch.
Which are they?
Well, I can't count Combat Academy because I've already fucking seen it.
No, Prog, no, you haven't. You haven't watched that. None of us has watched that yet. What are we talking about? We're talking about Prog. No one's watched Combat Academy yet. What are you doing? Hey, should we spin the wheel and find out what we're going to watch next week?
Yeah.
I hope it's not Combat Academy.
We should get the wheel jingle from Michael McIntyre thing. The wheel.
Oh no. Blue Velvet.
On my little bit, it stopped on Predator 2. And I was like, oh, it's me again. But it's not, it's Blue Velvet.
Oh well. See you guys next week for Blue Velvet then.
Yeah, don't remember. Oh, I said don't remember. Remember, the podcasts come out every week. We're looking at Wednesdays, Thursdays at the moment. Check out our social media. Check out our YouTube. And remember to keep it off the record on the QT and very hush hush. Yeah.
I like that.